Hello and welcome to Attacking Thirds UEFA Euro 2025 Primer, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. It's where we'll be discussing all 16 teams involved in this edition of the tournament taking place all over Switzerland. From the teams that are just happy to be there to the outright favorites, we're going to tackle all of the biggest storylines and take a deep dive into all things Euro 2025. It's a big one this summer, so I couldn't do it alone. I'm Sandra Herrera in the host chair alongside McCall Zerboni and Jess McDonald. Let's get right into it. We're just happy that everyone else is here as well. If you're joining us on YouTube, say hello, say hi. Let us know how you're feeling about the summer of soccer with the upcoming Euros. And if you're joining us on Golasso Network, welcome. Time to get educated. McCall, how you doing today?
I'm having a fabulous morning so far. I'm with you guys. We get to talk Euros. I'm doing my first Euros. We get to wait 4 years for this. This is exciting times.
How about you, Jess? How's Olivia? I'm very excited for Olivia Rose making a feature on this one because I'm just like, gosh, is this like her first major international tournament show? Like, let's go.
It actually is. You know what? And she might have something to say today. She's squirming over here, but you know what? Y'all have to listen when she says something because it might be important. She might know who Golden Boot is for this tournament. She knows a lot, and it's kind of crazy, but she's a joy to have on this show.
She'll lead the way for sure. I'm so amped. In a way I kind of can't believe that we're already here. It's July 1.
I know.
Already half of the year done and dusted behind us, and the Euros have arrived. And with that, you've got the 16 teams broken down over 4 groups. So we thought, let's do a little bit of a primer, not so much of a preview, where we're getting the opportunity to highlight each team and maybe say a few things about them as the tournament gets set to kick off. And you hate to be this way with any major international tournament because any team that's in the mix hypothetically has a shot, right? Because anything can happen in tournament football. But also, when it comes to that level of competition, you've got your favorites, you've got your dark horses, you've got your long shots, and you've got your teams who might just be happy to be here. And we're going to chat about those teams in particular. We decided to divide up the teams into these different categories to let you all know where we think they're sitting. And for just happy to be here, we are definitely including the hosts in this one. Happy to host for Switzerland in this one. They're in Group A with an average age on their roster at 24.8, followed up by Finland, who are also in Group A with an average age of the roster at 27.4. And also in Group A, in our happy to be here category, Iceland with an average age of 25.3. So we've got a couple other teams that we are including in this group, but I couldn't help but notice that a trio of them are coming from Group A. When we're looking at these particular teams, McCall, is there anyone amongst this trio that you're looking at saying, okay, maybe they're happy to be here, but they're going to make some noise in the Group A?
I mean, for me, everyone's thinking about the Swiss, right? Oh, they're just in there because they're hosting. But, when I do my research dating back to 1987, the host of the country has won the Euros 6 times. So they really do have an advantage. And I think, all the energy around Alicia Lehmann, she's very famous. She has a lot of eyes on her. They'll have a big crowd. And, there's somebody that they can rally around. So I think they're happy to be there. But I think out of that lower category, they're the upper echelon of it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking at Iceland. I know we've got them in here as a happy to be here, but I think they're like the favorites of the happy to be here, if I could pin it that way, or even with the potential to be perhaps a little bit of that dark horse. I love some of the players on this roster. They're just a joy to watch whenever you're able to see them on the pitch. I mean, I know a lot of American fans stateside are very excited to maybe get a glimpse of Svennis Jonsdottir, who recently signed with Angel City, but will not be joining the squad until post Euro. So this could be a little bit of a glimpse for folks who maybe don't find themselves with access to like international club soccer. Like, hey, maybe you don't have a way to watch Bundesliga too often. Well, you'll get a chance to watch Euros and get to see Jonsdottir go ahead and cook a bit. And also Dagny Brynnsdottir as well, like someone who's not unfamiliar, spending time in NWSL at one point, saw a good stretch of her career, played stateside as well. So they've got more than capable players in this one. And I think they're in the right group A, to just maybe squeak out some upsets or to get by. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. And as far as Finland, I think there's nothing more dangerous than a a team that's operating with nothing to lose, especially a team that maybe has a bit of that underdog label that's placed on them. Because when you're looking at those teams that they're going up against in there, it's like, well, why not us as well? If anyone else is getting a shot, if the home hosts in Switzerland are looking like they could potentially give an upset, or even Iceland, why not us? And like that is always very dangerous. As far as we have a couple of other teams in happy to be here categories. We also listed Poland, who's going to be participating alongside Group C with an average age roster of 24.9, and Wales. And
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about Finland, and anybody that's ranked in top 30 for me has a chance, because you have to understand every single one of these countries is going in thinking we're going to win the tournament, no matter how much an underdog they are. They're like, we're not training and doing all of this and go in the tournament to not put our best foot forward. So Finland ranking at 26, and even a Belgium ranking at 20th. Like I said, anybody that's 30 or above in world rankings really does have a chance and could surprise.
They really do. And you know what? Belgium is actually a very difficult team to play. They don't make the game very easy. But what I love about these underdog stories is you never know what's going to happen. I think some of these teams under this happy to be here category that we have might make it pretty far, almost like Colombia beating Germany in the World Cup in 2023. Like one of those games. I think that these lower tier teams are going to be so scrappy, because that's what we see from these teams that, we write off, almost like the reggae girls making as far as that they did at
and that's
the World
reason
Cup.
we watched.
That's
because
exactly
they make it
why.
exciting and emotional.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm here to see it. I'm excited to watch Poland. I haven't watched too much Poland throughout my life. And so my kids are half Poland. So my two younger kids are half Polish. Their dad's Polish. And so I'm like, okay, I've been more in to the Polish roots lately, eating more punchkis than I have before. It's like this jelly-filled donut. So you know what? I'm a new fan of Poland. And you know what? Striker for Barcelona, Yua Pajor. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Yeah. Oh my God. You guys, she's actually very impressive to watch. And so I think that this is one of those teams that's going to be difficult to play. But also, I have to give a shout out to Finland as well. The Finnish, they have a lot of experienced players like Natalia Kuikka. I'm a huge fan of hers because she has been a pain in my tail to play against throughout my playing career, first and foremost. But she is also a very versatile player. She could play at center back. She could play outside back. I prefer her in the outside back position. So I think she's going to wreck it in that back line for Finland moving forward throughout this tournament.
I think she's quality. I'm anxious to see how she does, because she's been out for a while with injury. With Chicago, hasn't got a lot of games, but obviously she's so valuable. So maybe she was being really careful in her recovery so she could guarantee her attendance at the Euros.
I mean, she's a key difference maker. I mean, you see how the Stars kind of struggle without her presence, and I think it's of equal importance for Finland. I'm loving the punchki shout out from Jess McDonald. Like, let's get with the Polish pastry shout outs.
Yes. I had my first punchki for my son's first birthday. I never had one before.
I love that.
It was punchki themed. So
Chicago is home to one of the largest Polish populations in the country. And so we definitely get ours in there. But I love that you brought it to the show. Fantastic energy. And I'm back. Sorry about dropping out there for a second. The hackers didn't like what we were categorizing these teams as happy to be here. And they said, that's enough of that. But y'all are pros and kept it going. And I shockingly don't disagree with either of your sentiments for Poland or Finland or anyone else. I mean, is this where we say Wales is also gonna maybe be the team to kind of be disruptive in the happies to be here category? I think they have, as far as looking at the level of experience, let's just say on the roster, they lead the way. McCall, I'm curious for your takes, on these. They've got an average roster of 27.5, and despite their FIFA ranking at 30, they've got some heavy hitters on that roster.
Well, I mean, I believe in Jess Fishlock so much, obviously playing against her in the NWSL, for the last 13 years. And she's just been a steady performer and mainstay and a leader. So I know that, for the last 10 years, she's been pushing the tempo of this Wales side to get up there in Europe and get neck and neck and be in that same conversation as England, France, et cetera, eventually, because that's how she wants to leave the game. Those are her goals. So she's elevating everybody week in and week out when she's in camps with the squad. So I think they can put some good performances forward.
Okay, I want one team.
One team.
Maybe we got to pick one team from this category who will probably go the furthest. Actually do it. Who do you think?
Yes. For me, okay, I also have to mention Pia is coaching the Swiss as well.
That's right.
And she has a lot of experience on the world stage and winning championships. So I think she'll put her best foot forward with the squad that she has. And like I said, I think they have extra motivation around them right now, and the fans are going to go hard for them. So for me, hosting Switzerland has the edge.
I agree. You know what? Because I was rooting for Pia. I'm always rooting for Pia. I hear that she just has such a great heart. She loves that guitar of hers and singing to the team. So hopefully she's got some pregame melodies ready for them. But you know what? Honestly, they didn't do too bad their last tournament in the World Cup. I want to go back into the World Cup, but I love their performance. I think that, they have a little bit of experience on their team as well. And Pia is going to be such a huge motivator for this team. So I agree with you.
Oh yeah, I was asking for the team, one team from each of y'all to make this surprise pick out of the happy to be here teams. I'm sticking with Iceland, and with good reason. We did a poll. Iceland has won. Folks believe that Iceland has the best chance to advance from the happy to be here squad alongside Switzerland. We've got more teams to chat about those, so make sure you all stick with us after a quick break. All right, we're back at it, and we've got another category. We've got our long shots that we're going to chat about, because long shots might have a chance, a pretty good chance to make some noise. We've got Norway, Belgium, Portugal listed as our long shots in this one. Just a trio of long shots in this one. So when it comes to these three teams, between Norway, Belgium, and Portugal, McCall, who do you have your eye on?
I mean, don't sweep on Norway. They've won the title twice. So very long ago, 1987 and then 1993, they've won the Euros. So maybe it's their time to bring it back. And honestly, I thought their last major tournament, they did show some promising things, and I could see that they were growing as a country. Not only in their talent and their performances. So I'm going to go Norway.
See, I'm going to have to go with Portugal on this one. I think Portugal is going to be the most difficult team to play against within this category of teams, simply because they're also not an easy team to play against. If we go back to, I'm going back to the World Cup again. You see the United States barely squeaked by going up against Portugal. And even with my playing experience going up against Portugal, they're a very difficult team to beat. It's only like a 1-0 game. And I think the United States ended up tying them 0-0 in the World Cup, if I can remember correctly. And I think that they have enough experience on this team. Midfielder for Real, Andrea Jacinto, she is just a force in that midfield line. So good with the ball, pinging it outside both feet, and she's able to break lines as well. And you know what? They can finish. They're very speedy up top as well. And with that being said, they're pressure pockets. This is what I like most about this Portuguese side. They're pressure pockets. I'm here for the high press, the defensive lines being very tidy and neat. That's what they pride themselves on, is their pressure. So they're not going to make it easy for teams to score against them, because it's not an easy thing to do. And then possession wise, they're going to bring that Portuguese, samba type style on the ball. So I'm here for Portugal in this category.
I don't disagree. I think in the attack, they're going to be fun to watch, but
Yes.
they are the lowest in world ranking out of those three. They sit at 22.
And that's okay. You know what? That's okay.
I'm curious the availability aspect.
So we have Portugal at world rank 22, Belgium at world rank 20, and Norway at 16. So I actually think it will go in that section of world ranking. I think the Portugal's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think they're just going to give up a lot of goals. Fam.
You think so?
Yeah.
See, their defense is amazing. I'm here for their defensive presence, because they do make it difficult for teams to break them down. But hopefully they can improve throughout this tournament, because I know they just lost, a chunk of games from higher ranked teams recently. And hopefully they go into a major tournament a little bit more prepared. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll compare it to Belgium. They have players in the back, like Amber Tisiak for Belgium, who's a West Ham defender. So week in, week out, she's playing in the WSL against these amazing teams like Chelsea, Arsenal, etc. So she's tested with the best players in the world. So I think Belgium's back line is going to be a little bit more solid than we would expect from Portugal.
Yeah, we'll see. Belgium, you know what? The Red Flames, they're actually a very good team too. So I can see where you're coming from with them. They are a fantastic team to play up against and also watch as well. So we'll see how this chunk of group is going to go moving forward into this tournament.
There's always a surprise. That's why we watch. There's always somebody that's like, "What? You're coming out of left field and getting it done."
Exactly. Yes.
And I think because women's football has so much room to grow, especially in other nations, like they can make such large gains in 2-3 years in their development and resources. The more funding that each nation has, the more they get a league in their country where these players can get action every weekend instead of having to go play in other countries where maybe they don't see a lot of time. I think it's super valuable when you have a domestic league in your nation that your players can play for and compete in. And so we're seeing more and more leagues be developed internationally, which will help them on world tournament stages like the Euros.
I completely agree. And one of the best things about this sport is watching it grow. And so competition, you just don't know which way it's going to go. But you know what? At the end of the day, we also cannot sleep on Norway either. I'm a huge fan of Ingrid Ingen. She has been so amazing for Chelsea throughout her playing career. She is just a key piece for club and country. And I think that she is going to bring her experience onto this Norwegian side, going into the Euros, because this is a huge tournament, and she shows up when it comes to these big moments. And you know what? She's got that winning mentality. When you have a player like that on your team,
Totally.
Everybody just feeds into it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so she's going to carry this team on her shoulders, I think. So Norway is going to be one of those teams you're going to keep your eye on as well.
No, for sure. I mean, 3 players to watch. Barcelona's Caroline Graham-Hansen. She's going to be amazing for Norway.
Yeah.
Chelsea's midfielder, Guro Reiten. She's going to be something you want to keep your eyes on. And then Lioness, Ingrid Ingen.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 3 very good players that are playing in top leagues around the world, getting mad competition, and probably coming in here firing all cylinders because their schedule gives them this break to head into the Euros, right? So they're just coming off a full season and in form. So it's interesting to see how that translates into the summer for other international leagues, because they're like in their height and flow heading into like world tournaments. So we'll see how those players perform and sort of, I mean, Norway, I think they're kind of stacked. I think they're going to do really good.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're a fun side to watch as well. I've watched plenty of their games. So we'll see how that category is going to go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll talk more about our next dark horses when we return from break.
Hello and welcome back to Attacking Third. Today's show is presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. We're back to talk about dark horses. All of us, even maybe. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We've got dark horses to chat about. The ones that we think can really, really, truly shake things up in the women's Euro.
So we've got for dark horses, starting with Italy, Sweden, Denmark, and Netherlands. Jess,
Ooh,
who's your favorite in our dark horse mentionable?
I love this selection. This is a tough one because I'm a huge fan of Italy's goalkeeper, Laura. She is just absolutely amazing to watch and such a great shot stopper, and such a great leader in the back as well. But you know what? I'm going to have to overall go with Netherlands. I think that they have been one of those teams that has performed at such a high level going into major tournaments. And you know what? They have such great strikers as well. Bernstein being one of the leaders up top, she brings so much experience, so much of her expertise with 17 goals in 20 appearances in her domestic play. And you know what? She's our country's top scorer, at the end of the day in qualifying. And so I think that it's kind of up in the air how she's going to do because she just recently had an injury. But you got to include Medema as well. And you know what? They're just stacked in there coming off injury as well.
That woman is so fun to watch, man. She's just a fox in the box.
Yes.
She's clutch too. She'll get on the end of things. And like, just when you think her team is falling behind, she'll snatch a goal at the last minute.
Yeah.
She reads the game so well. She's good on crosses, good on first time finishing. Medema is alone one of the best strikers in the world that can lift a country in a tournament like this.
Absolutely agree. And she's definitely going to be one of those players that these teams are going to go up against, and they're going to target her. You're going to have to, this is their star player who, can show up and show out at any second in a game. That's what makes her so impressive. When she's scoring inside the goal or inside the box, excuse me, you know what? You never know what she's going to pull out of her hat. She's like magic when she's in and around the goal. Her aerial presence, like you said, she can head, she can volley, you name it. This is like a typical 9 that you want on your team. And she brings all of that to the table, and she's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully she's able to, play in this tournament fully because she's been in and out of injuries as well recently. So hopefully she's going to be able to carry this team on her back because they're going to rely on her, and she's going to be a key piece that if, she's not playing, she's going to be missed. So yeah,
I will say though, Group D is fuego. That's going to be a really tough group for them. I think there's 3 sides that could be first in there, and only 2 are going to make it. So they definitely have their work cut out for them, Netherlands. But I mean, not too long ago, 2017, they won the Euros.
Yep.
They were the host, which kind of goes back to my point that you have a little bit of an edge when you're hosting. However,
absolutely.
They've been on the map and on the scene since 2017, and they've only been getting better since then. And you know who I love? Midfielder Jackie Gronin. I love watching her play. She just is that unsung midfielder that does so much work, but doesn't score a lot of goals. But if you take it back to 2 or 3 passes before most of their goals, she's creating, she's breaking lines. She's kind of picking the opponent apart with entry balls. She'll play short passes, long passes. She's defensively in the right position all the time. A lot of people don't mention her, but I obviously am a midfield lover, but she's been a mainstay on the Southern teams for a long time. And I think she'll really help them put some good performances.
You know what? I'm happy you mentioned her because you know what? Like you said, these types of players don't get shout outs as much, but this is one of the key players for this team simply because I like to call a player like her the cleaner. She cleans up the mess.
Yes.
In the midfield. And then it's like, okay, she's like a breath of fresh air for this Dutch side. So I'm so happy you mentioned her. Of course you mentioned her. You guys played the same position, but at the end of the day, she's going to be a key piece in that midfield line for Netherlands defensively and on the ball, because when she wins it quick. She goes through those hard tackles, and then her next pass is usually going forward. She's always finding someone else, and she's able to connect her passes, which is such a huge key piece when it comes to keeping the ball in the midfield, especially after you win it. So, and she brings that. She's a force.
Roomba. She's the Roomba in there, cleaning up.
Yes, that's the word. Oh my goodness, just a force in there. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting group here. But FIFA ranking number 11, Netherlands. That's my team. So who would you pick?
Legit. So, I mean, back to our dark horses that we chose: Italy, Sweden, Denmark, and Netherlands. Denmark, man, they're going to be exciting to watch as well. So they sit at number 12 in world ranking, which, by the way, that is a big jump for them that they've made in the past several years. Denmark is really putting themselves on the map. And obviously, player to watch, Pernille Harder. Are you kidding me? Yeah. She's been banging in goals for Bayern and Chelsea for the last few years in some of the top leagues in the world. She's been nominated for UEFA Women's Player of the Year 2 times. She's an all-time goal scorer for Denmark's side. Like, her alone can change a country's performance in a tournament like this when you have someone that valuable. So as long as she stays healthy, can put in a lot of minutes. Denmark steaming up the rankings at number 12 and can really increase that, I think, in this tournament.
Yes, Denmark, y'all cannot sleep on this team. But you know what? I have to give a shout to Sweden. You know, Sweden's always been such a good team, you know, going into these major tournaments. They perform, but they just don't quite get the job done. They're like that bubble team to me. You know, they're always ranked third and fourth. You know, they're always playing for that silver medal.
They're like that nuisance that won't go away.
Yes,
but
that
also
nuisance.
Surely they walk off the pitch totally unsatisfied every major tournament.
Exactly. So I think two players that are going to have to show up is Kosovari Asllani. Whether she's playing in the 10 or if she's playing up top, she's going to have to be on her front foot. And then
I can talk about her all day.
All day.
She plays her heat map
Easily.
all over the field. She touches every corner, every spot of the field. She has an endless engine. She's making things tick in there for them. And she can score goals, and her final pass is excellent
crisp.
As well.
It's so crispy, that final pass. And, you know, me with my striker mentality, you always want a natural 10 playing under you who you can connect with going into that final third. And Kosovari Asllani brings that. But another player for this Swedish side that I think needs to be, you know, in her top form is Blackstenius. I think that she had so many opportunities in the 2023 World Cup that were sitters, and she just did not connect. You know, you could see what she's trying to do, but it just didn't happen. But at the end of the day, she did score for Arsenal in Champions League for them to lift the gold. And so hopefully she applies that. And she was a game changer too, to top it off in that game.
Yes.
I think it was like her first or second touch.
In and just like totally uplift whatever is happening, whether ahead or behind. It was like, all right, girlie, here she comes.
And that's what Sweden's going to need from her, is just taking them on her back and on her shoulders between her and Kosovari Asllani. I think that those two are going to have to really connect going into this tournament, because those are two key pieces when it comes to, you know, breaking the lines and getting into that final third and just causing havoc in the box. So Blackstenius is definitely going to be one of those players I'm going to keep my eye on, because, you know, as a striker, I want to see these strikers just succeed. And Blackstenius is one of those.
You like her tag? I love watching her play as well.
Oh, you kidding me? Absolutely.
And the World Cup, subbing on, doing her thing. And every time she just kept earning herself more and more minutes. And I'm anxious to see if she's going to start some games for Sweden, at least in group play, to see what she can do for them.
Yeah, we shall see, because as every player who's on a roster, no matter what sport you're playing, you always want to start. But you know what? There are just those players that are so good as game changers. So we'll see what kind of minutes she gets, because she actually does prove herself going into these games, and just a force, honestly, at the end of the day. So we'll see how that goes.
We'll see how it goes. And Sweden has won Euros one time, and that was all the way back in 1984.
Holy moly, 84. I wasn't even thought of yet. Okay, well, helmet on for impact. Let's see how they do, you know.
Right. And our last dark horse, Italy, with no Euros, and talking around, people don't have a lot of faith in them. You want to, because you think Italy in your mind, you know, a top football country, you want to put them in there. But at the end of the day, sounds like people don't have a lot of faith in them. But that's what things happen when you count a country out. Something always happens. So
you never know.
That's what makes the dark horses fun.
Yes.
Next, we're moving on to our favorites after this break. righty. Starting off with our favorites of the tournament. And I'm going to start off with this one because it's actually kind of funny because they've never won the Euros before. Yet we're like going ham on them, like think that they're our favorites just because they're previous champions of the World Cup. You got it, Spain. They are one of our first favorites that we have listed. What do you think about them for this tournament, Jess?
You know what? I think they're going to make it very far. I would say they're going to make it to the final, just because they have not let off the pedal since the World Cup, obviously, and they've been such a difficult team to go up against as well. And I think that they have enough experience on this team to get the job done. I mean, we can go on and on about this roster from Putellas to Bonmati. Hopefully she's in coming from her illness of meningitis. So with these types of players, I think that they can get the job done, but it's all about consistency. And not always do we see consistency from the Spanish side. You know, we look at the World Cup in 2023 and yeah, they won the final, but peep the game up against Japan. That was a 4-0 loss for them. Japan figured them out. They broke them down. They made it look easy. And so hopefully going into this tournament,
right? So it kind of canceled them out and they didn't have an answer.
Exactly. And so we're going to see if any of these teams going up against them will break that possession down just the way Japan did. And they just transitioned all game, and it worked. So hopefully they're working on their transitional moments defensively. And I think if they do, then you know what, they're going to make it far. What do you think?
I mean, Spain is an interesting side right now. They're definitely going through a transition where they're trying to get some of the old guard out and bring some new fresh faces in. The average age of their roster for this Euros is 26.3. But then you think about people that have been left off the roster like Jenny Hermoso, right? And then think about Esther's journey. I'm going to just go hard on her for a little bit because her undeniable resilience and performances has earned her a spot on this Euros because the last couple of years she's had very up and down attendance in camps. And 2024, she was hardly in at all. After in the 23 World Cup when she won, she started most of the group play, started round of 16 and quarterfinal. But in the final of the World Cup, she didn't even appear in the game at all. And then following that 2024, she wasn't getting called in hardly at all. So it set a fire into her belly. And she said, I'm going to go prove everybody wrong. I still want to play internationally. I'm still good enough, despite that I'm 32 years old. So she just lights up and goes off and just starts balling out. And now she's in the running for the NWSL Golden Boot. And anytime that's happening in any top league in the world, you are saying, I'm here. Don't miss me. Don't ignore me. And she just forced her way into this narrative to be selected for the Spanish national team for this Euros. And I'm just so proud of her because she really just could have tucked her shell and said, my time is done internationally. But she was like, no, I want to be at that Euros. And she worked on her performance, worked on herself, grinded back from injury, grinded back from being left off the roster, and is now just putting performances that are undeniable out there. So I can't wait to watch her.
Okay, sorry about that. Now I'm having internet issues.
It was actually perfect timing. I just finished my point. So
okay, who did you talk about? Oh my gosh,
I was talking about Esther and just how undeniable she has made herself these last couple of years. No matter how many times they've tried to leave her out of the narrative, leave her off the roster, and she's just like, nope, I'm going to be there in the end, and she absolutely was.
And she's proving herself big time in the NWSL this season. She's been so much fun to watch. But you know what? I'm going to have to move to France on this one. I think France has something to prove just because they go into these major tournaments as well. They almost remind me of like a Sweden. You know, they're always going to bring it. And so with Diani, I mean, just absolutely a force of a striker for Lyon. She's one of my players to watch this tournament. And to top it off, can we talk about our NWSL girl, Cascarino, real quick? She has been just so phenomenal for this San Diego Wave side. Look at these stats: 9-time Premier League champion, UWCL champion. I mean, just finals player of the match. This girl has won trophies on trophies on trophies. And to top it off with the way that she has been playing this season for San Diego Wave, she is in form. In form. And I think she's going to be one of those players to watch this tournament because she has just been so consistent. She is one of those natural wingers that you can watch all day long, or at least for me, because she is slicing and dicing and cooking up an early Thanksgiving dinner, game in and game out this season. And so after her ACL injury, it took her a while to come back. It was a really slow process, and now she's just shining bright. And so she's going to be one of my players to watch as well. But between her and Diani, I think that, they're both in form right now. And I think that they are going to wreak havoc in the final third going up against any opponent they go against.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to, watch France without Leigh O'Meara, watch without Kenza Dali and Renard just seeing those legends who, when you associate, when you think of the French national team, you think of those names, and now that they're out. So, I mean, France has never won the Euros, and they've never even been in the final of the Euros. So hopefully this new changing of the guard brings what they want for their nation, because otherwise I'm just going to be offended that left those gals out, because I've enjoyed, competing against them and watching them for my career. And I just think the world of them. But that's what you hope. You hope that you pass the baton to the youngers and you really help your nation grow, and, you laid a foundation that they can excel there from. But so in our group with this, for our favorites, we do have France and Spain, which we just mentioned. And then we also have Germany and England. So Jess, who do you like more out of those two?
You know what? I would say 15 years ago, easily Germany. Yeah. But this day and age, I got to go with the Lionesses on this one. From Russo to Lauren James, they have both been so great for this English side. Lucy Bronze, I can go through a lot of this roster on this English side, who's been on this roster lately. And I think England's one of those teams too that has a lot to prove as well. They make it to finals, but don't quite get the job done, a lot of times in these tournaments. But they have definitely proven themselves, and they're my favorite for this tournament right now. I'm just a huge fan of Lauren James. She's just been so awesome, day in and day out. You never know what she's going to pull out of her back pocket either. She's so awesome. And then Russo, I got to give a shout out to, I'm biased, my former Tar Heel, you know what I'm saying? But, you know what? She might be a Golden Boot winner in my opinion. She's just been finishing so well for club and country, and just staying consistent between her and Lauren James. Those are also two other strikers that you're gonna have to keep your eye on moving forward into this tournament.
Yeah, Russo is just storming the scene internationally with how many goals she's scoring and just making herself known. But England did win the 2022 Euros, and guess what? They were the host. But they've also been in the final 3 times and the semifinals 6 times. So they definitely have a great chance to do this. But when we come back, we'll talk about the last team in this group that we set as favorites, Germany. Hang tight. And we're back here to discuss Germany, the 8-time champion of the Euros. Definitely have the upper hand and that historic flex on all of these teams. Jess, what are you loving about Germany, and how do you think they're going to do?
You know what? Leah Schuler is what I love about Germany. And obviously, Anne-Katrine Berger in goal.
Yep.
To top it off,
in there.
she's just cherry on top for this German side. FIFA ranking number 3. But I think Schuler is going to be one of those players to watch, especially without Pop retiring. She was such a huge piece, a key piece to this German side, especially when it came to, finishing all these goals at the end of the day. And so she was just such an impressive player to watch. But now they've got to move on. They have, different type of motivation to them going into this tournament. And they're also one of those bubble teams to me, even though they've won a chunk of times. Like I said, Germany 15 years ago would have been my team. But, this day and age, the Lionesses more so. So Germany is one of those teams that they will always be difficult to play against.
Yes.
This is a team you can never write off, and almost like a Sweden as well, So hopefully they can overcome, missing Pop going into this tournament. But I think they have enough experience on this squad to get the job done, to make it as far as possible into this tournament. So, you know what? I had them ranked pretty high in this tournament, getting 3rd place, because I want to see them place. This is one of those teams that deserves it. And so we'll see how they overcome, missing Pop going into this tournament.
Well, and that's exactly it. They have some strong history etched in victory for this tournament. I mean, does everybody remember Birgit Prince?
Oh, yeah.
She was dominating internationally and the Euros specifically. She's won 5 Euros. And then she passed that baton to Pop. And so then it was that center striker, center forward that was kind of leading the charge for Germany and was a massive goal scorer. So that was Birgit Prince, one of the all-time top goal scorers. And then she passed it to Alexandra Pop, who carried it for a very long time as well. Really strange to not see her on this roster. And I associate Germany with her as well. She scored 6 goals in the 2022 Euros. So if she carried that load in this last competition, we got to wonder who's going to now pick that up and put that on their back and carry Germany like that, because they're going to have that void of a mad goal scorer. So it could be a question mark on how they perform, especially since some of the other nations are catching up. So we'll see about that. But with everything said about our favorites, why don't you go ahead and make your winner prediction, Jess McDonald?
Okay, so y'all don't shoot me, please. So I had England winning it.
Okay.
Spain getting in 2nd place. Germany 3rd place. Those are my top 3 going into this tournament. And I had Golden Boot for Russo. Russo getting Golden Boot this tournament. She's a Tar Heel. I had to.
Your brain is kind of going.
Yeah.
So I had champion England, 2nd place Sweden. Just because I think that I looked at the bracket correctly, where there's I think Spain could only get 3rd place. So I have Spain at 3rd place.
Okay.
And then my Golden Boot winner was Alessio Russo too.
Okay. Shout out. Oh my goodness. Okay. And then what else? Okay. Golden Glove. I got to give a shout out for NWSL and Katrine Berger. I mean, that's a given, because she is just such a fantastic shot stopper for club and for country. The experience that she brings in net, I'm crossing my fingers for this young woman in goal this tournament. I think she's going to show up and show out, because she's going to apply how her NWSL season is going to go into this tournament. She's in top form, and I think she's just been fantastic.
She's a great shot stopper, and she's also good at distribution.
Yes.
But I'm anxious to see how that correlates with Germany, because it depends on what formation they play.
That's
if they play
true.
3 in the back, 4 in the back, it really changes the way the goalkeeper builds out. Either it elongates their passes if it's a 3-back, right? Because they're farther away and there's more space for them to position themselves in. Or if it's a 4-back, your outside backs can drop down a little bit lower and receive those shorter passes from you. So, but she also can hit 40, 50-yard balls on a dime. So they can hit the ball forward and faster and get into that final attack. So, but for me, I had her AKB as Golden Glove winner. And then breakout player of the tournament that I've been keeping an eye on, for Spain, I had Vicky Lopez.
Holy moly. Okay, so
That has a lot of hype around her name. I'm really excited to see her flair and her execution.
okay, I had to go with Barcelona star player Sydney. I don't even know if I'm saying her last name correctly, so y'all please don't get mad at me. Schertenlieb. Maybe that's correct. I think that she's been such a fantastic young player. I think that she is going to, I think people are going to know who she is after this tournament. So that's my breakout player.
I love that.
Yes. All right. Who do you have player of the tournament?
Player of the tournament, I had Alexia Putellas.
Okay.
She's just had a last year or two so quality, so solid, and she'll have an amazing supporting cast around her in the midfield that's only going to highlight her and make her feel better and look better. So, but that being said, we both have the champion as England. So Jess McDonald, McCall Zerboni, A3. We predict that England is going to win. We'd love to hear from you out there in the audience. Watch our show, get into the comments, let us know who you have winning the 2025 Euros. That's a wrap for our show today. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Well done, McCall.